Possibly, it's the nature of the universe to have opposing forces. Dark against light, Android against iPhone, PC against Mac, dynamics against planar, and electrostatics just laughs on as this battle rages. With that, it's another Royal Rumble. A first, the Moondrop Venus from the IEM company MOONDROP Audio, introducing their very first planar into the open back headphone field. The other is CIVGA, introducing their latest in their lineup, the SIVGA LUAN, a dynamic versus a planar, $600 versus $300. Let's commence with this epic showdown. Welcome to ConvinceMeAudio. A special thank you goes out to CIVGA for sending us the LUAN for review, and a special heartfelt thank you to Linsol for sending us the Moondrop Venus and the Ghost, which will appear in another video when we do the closed back shootout under $500. Subscribe if you're interested in closed back headphones, and you will be notified when that video goes live. So as we unbox the SIVGA LUAN, we are introduced to the same hardshell case as the SIVGA SV023 that we reviewed previously. Review here somewhere. A 3.5 to a 6.3 jack converter, thank you very much, that adapter is useful. As we unbox this, very nice hardshell case. This is going to protect the headphones nicely in your backpack. My goodness, these are light. These are the headphones, wood, steel and leather. Absolutely fantastic. Let's set that aside. And a nice little pouch for our accessories, which we will have a look at. The traditional anime butt case. Yeet. Let's have a look at the cable. It's a very basic thin rubber cable akin to the Meze 109 Pro, but not of the same caliber and thickness, with nice strain relief springs for the 3.5 jack, thank you, and a pair of 3.5 jacks at the other end for the headphones. That's pretty decent. It's not bad at all for this price category of $300. I don't think I've seen better. I've seen thicker. It's a light cable, full specifications here. This is the SIVGA LUAN, a very light headphone constructed out of this beautiful wooden cup. You can get this in two colors, black or brown. 3.5 terminations at the end of the cups, which are flush, so you can use third-party cables. Honestly, I can't overestimate how light these headphones are. A beautiful strap here made of leather. Yep, real leather with the SIVGA etched into it, and nice soft underlining segments for comfort. Same metal arch, the way the 109 Pro is designed. The headphones articulate forward and back and forward very nicely, I think about 30 degrees or so. These cups are constructed of velour and leather on the outside. The cups are splayed like the LCD5 pads, which is something I love because it means the outer edges of the pad will surround the circumference of your ears and not on the inside. This is really decent for comfort, and these pads are extraordinarily comfortable. We have this metal grille. This is actually a lot larger than the SIVGA SV023. Very light, very elegant, nicely put together. It looks seamless with these beautiful sliders for the up and down of the headphones. I did mention this in the SIVGA SV023 review. I wish they had a notch here for your thumb as you're sliding up and down. This is ergonomically a bit of a nightmare to be able to. It's rather stiff to be able to adjust. So on the next edition or on the next headphone, I want a dent here so that my thumb can place itself right within the surface area and push up. Unfortunately, we don't have that. Very decent, very nicely designed for $300. I'm very impressed. In this category, we have the Sandaras and some of the other headphones from Sennheiser. I think they're a little bit cheaper. The HD 600 and 650, so bear that in mind. Those are made of plastic and definitely not on the levels of this quality for build. No way. Or for comfort, incidentally. And in the red corner, we have the Moondrop Venus, a far more substantial heavy box. Front and center, we have the headphones, nestled very nicely in the same manner as the HD800S with this velvet silk lining. I like the presentation here, it's beautiful. These are the accessories for the Moondrop Venus. These are the headphones. Yeah, these are very, very heavy. These headphones are constructed out of metal. Suspension strap, very nice. Let's place that here. Opening the accessory box, we get literature, 2 sets of cables. I hope one of them is balanced. So this fabric twisted cable is a single-ended. Very nice, doesn't keep its shape. I've actually been using this on a few other products like the Ghost, and this has been very, very nice. This is for portable usage. It's about 130, 1 meter 30 or so. This is a very nice cable. I actually like it a lot. Spools very, very nicely. This one is a balanced 4.4 cable in the same manner as the 109 Pro. Not of the same caliber quite, but it does remind me of that a lot when you feel it. It's a 4.4 Pentagon connection with a dual 3.5 balanced. Thank you, Moondrop, for supplying both of those cables. That is really, really useful. These are the headphones themselves. Constructed out of metal, you could clobber someone to death with this thing. It weighs over 600 grams. Distribution of the weight is really nicely done. Very large cups, like genuinely large. This planar, we will get onto the specifications in a moment, is a very big driver. Suspension strap. This is made of this rubber material like the 109 Pro. These have a tendency to wear out, but this is like a Kevlar sort of material. I think this one is going to last a very long time. How loose it will become, time will tell. Then we have this huge overarching metal band, and obviously this very wide head strap made of protein leather or fake leather. Definitely doesn't smell like a real cow. The headphones articulate forward and back nicely, but it's a bit stiff. Maybe that's just this model. Forward and back, very, very nice. And again, thin, shallow pads covering the circumference of the ear, not the inside, and they are ultra comfortable and the weight is very well distributed, but this is very heavy. Compared to the Sivga Luan, I think it weighs twice as much. Genuinely, like this is a very heavy headphone. An hour and a half top usage for me. The Luan is an all-day wearing headphone. A point to the Luan at half the price. Outstanding. But metal construction, superb. The jacks for the termination of the headphones is 3.5, balanced and single-ended, as we saw via the cable, obviously, and they stick out of the cup. So if you've got long jacks as well, like this, they look at the length of that. So you have like 2.5, 3 centimeters of length. So that might hit some people's shoulders if you've got tiny heads. So be careful with that, yeah? I think that covers the hardware. Both extraordinarily well constructed. One is lighter than the other and much smaller profile. Dynamic versus planar. Let's look at some of the specifications. The Moondrop Venus. This is a 100mm driver planar. This is an 18 ohm headphone. Definitely not the lowest. I have seen some as low as 100 dB sensitivity. It's very, very easy to get loud pretty much on anything. How well that performs, I will discuss in the sound section. The frequency response is 20 Hz to 20 kHz, and honestly, they have been one of the easier planars to drive to a loud level. Performance is a whole different matter. Moving over to the Luan, this is a dynamic headphone, 50mm, 38 ohm, 100 dB sensitivity, 20 Hz to 40 kHz. This is another easy to drive headphone from a dongle all the way up to a DAP or a desktop setup. Let's do a quick summary. Packaging. Moondrop Venus wins. It's a more premium package and you get more accessories at twice the price. Construction and build materials, both outstanding. It's a draw. Looks, it's very subjective. I prefer the Sivga Luan due to the wood, leather and small profile. Durability, the Moondrop Venus might win because of all the screws being on the outside, no glued parts. Every part of the headphone comes apart. And I think this one might be the same, to be fair. It's got some weird screws on the inside. I really can't quite tell. It might be a Pentacon or something. But yeah, I think repairability, I'll give it to the Moondrop Venus. They're both excellent build quality. They are both constructed very nicely. Comfort, Luan takes it. Why don't we talk about what you are all here for? The sound. First of all, let's discuss the overall sound characteristics of the Luan from CIVGAUDIO. This is a neutral, bright leaning sound characteristic, so that the upper mid-range is a bit more recessed. You've got a slight more lift in the sub-bass and a slight spike in the mid-bass region. Treble is definitely more forward. It's the most predominant part of the sound characteristic, the way CIVGA headphones usually are. It's not enough to be spicy, but it's definitely enough for some users to make it a little bit fatiguing, but for other people who listen to certain genres like classical, etc., make it exciting and give that beautiful edge of attack and detail retrieval. It's a darker sound signature in the mid-range. The lower mids and the mid-mids, it's a bit more lush, texturally rich, and then you got that dip in the upper mid-range, but most of the articulation and focus seems to be on the treble region. Moving over to the Moondrop Venus, this is a lot more of a reference sound, a lean and mean sort of sound characteristic. None of the frequencies seems to be standing out as we look at the graph audibly as we're listening to it. Sub bass is there, it doesn't really roll off, but it's not really elevated. Mid bass is there, it doesn't really recess itself or come forward too much, it's just there. Upper bass region leads nice credence to the treble region. Mid range is open, kind of lush with a touch of warmth, and then treble region is just nice rise and linear and airy and quite detailed, but none of the frequencies really stand out. This is more of a relaxed listen. This is more of a slightly aggressive, exciting listen. As we compare the frequency response of these two headphones side by side, let's look at the sub-bass region first. So the Luan is definitely more elevated over the Moondrop Venus. You do get that depth and body and size. The sub-bass on comparable equipment, which for this testing I had used the Aston Kern SE300 DAP, the review will be coming for that shortly, is more gentle, is more noticeable but not feelable. The sub-bass on the CIVGA Luan is more full-bodied, feel as though it's larger, more emphasized, and definitely more hearable and feelable on the eardrums. On the Moondrop Venus, though a little cleaner and leaner, definitely a bit more recessed and a bit more polite, I would say. It really isn't a sub-bass focused headphone for electronic music, for example. The Luan does a better job. Mid-bass is more punchy on the Luan, it's more emphasized, it's larger sounding than the Moondrop Venus, yet the articulation and detail retrieval of the mid-bass I think is a bit cleaner than the CIVGA Luan. Upper bass region, I think they're comparable. Neither of them bleed into the lower mids. They're very, very supportive of the treble region. But because of the frequency response of the Moondrop Venus, a bit more reference, I would say it's a bit more focused and it's a bit more coherent. On the CIVGA Luan, because of that slight forward nature of the treble region, it definitely feels as though sometimes it might be a little too bright leaning in that treble region, and a little bit, it never comes across thin sounding. Bear that in mind. It never comes across thin sounding, but that treble is always the focus, so it feels as though this one's a bit more coherent. Mid-range I would definitely give to the Moondrop Venus over the Luan, but the Luan in the lower mid-range and mid-mid is more texturally rich and more larger than life sounding and a bit more forward and a bit more lush On the Moondrop Venus, just a bit more lean sounding, and dynamic range in this mid-range is just meh on the Moondrop Venus on this comparable equipment. Treble region, detail retrieval is definitely more resolving on the Moondrop Venus, but it's definitely more incisive on the Sivga Luan. So therefore, for classical music, it feels a bit more energetic, more texturally rich, and definitely the edge of attack seems more exciting. For example, violins definitely sound a lot more realistic on the Sivga Luan versus the Moondrop Venus on comparable equipment. So, if we do a breakdown side by side with a track, this will give you a better idea of how these two headphones sound and which one is the right one for you. They're both exceptionally good for their categories, genuinely, and I think genuinely for the $300 region, if you take everything into account, including build quality and comfort, I think Sivga is definitely one of the top 3 up there. They've done an incredible job with the Luan, and it's a fantastic price to performance ratio money-wise. I'm really happy with this headphone. Moondrop Venus, again, build quality, a touch of that flagship, which I will get onto momentarily, is another fantastic one in this $600 region. Actually, it might be $550 now. Please check down below for the latest pricing. So, using the track Lilith from Monster Cat, which I will actually drop down below, the sub-bass emphasis on this electronic track is more exciting, visceral, and full-bodied on the Luan. On the Venus, we find it's a little bit more resolving, but definitely not cohesive to a good EDM experience. It's definitely there, you know it's there, but you definitely don't feel it. Mid-bass punch, again, more attack on the Luan. It's a bigger sounding, it's more focused, and it's a little bit more dynamic, without a doubt, in this bass region versus the Moondrop Venus on comparable equipment. And it's a bit more polite on the Venus. Everything about the Venus is just polite, to be honest with you. As we climb up to the upper bass region for this track, nothing feels either fatiguing or thin sounding on either. One is more polite, one is more aggressive, being the Luan, and it's more exciting. It definitely is more conducive to an EDM genre than this one. Mid-range, I would say due to that recess in the upper mid-range on the Luan, the Venus is definitely a lot more kind of focused, but texturally rich. In regards to texture and information, I would give it to the Luan. It's better. It's ridiculous how comparable these two headphones are in certain categories when they're on comparable equipment. As we climb up to the treble region, the Luan is a lot more incisive, slightly spicy, and definitely a bit more fatiguing for this genre, but definitely more exciting as well. It's a smoother sound than the frequency response would indicate, but it's definitely there, that slight forwardness. On the Venus, it's a bit more polite, it's more recessed, it's not as exciting for EDM. Then we swap the genres around to more of a classical feel and real instruments. Let's take a track from Two Cellos. Please check down below for all the albums and tracks. The cellos are full-bodied, texturally rich, warm sounding with a touch of color on the Luan. It's definitely more spacious, better dynamics, better separation, and it just feels more alive, definitely. For this genre of music, I think the Luan definitely takes it. It's really doing a good job. But for resolvability, a cleaner driver, and a more coherent frequency response, the Moondrop Venus takes it. Timbre, I think on comparable equipment, the Luan takes it a little bit, just edges it out a tiny bit. But the treble region, as we get up to that category, I prefer it on the Venus. It's more relaxed, it's more focused, and it's just a bit more coherent due to the frequency response going down the middle. But what happens when we throw both of these on high-end equipment? I mean, most people in this category really will not be, but to test the drivers here at CMA, that's what we do. So I threw both of these units on the LTA Z10E over there using the wavedream as a DAC. Obviously, that's like an insane 30K system, just to see where the drivers would go, right? I think immediately it was apparent that the Luan was more out of its comfort zone. It likes more the dongles like the Kern HF3, HFC, or for example, the Q-Style CMA M15. The Venus, when you throw it on a setup like that, or if you throw it on, for example, amplifiers and DACs above 1000, 2000, for example, it gives you a touch of, oh, this is what flagship could sound like and better. It gives you the first part of that addiction. You notice something flagship about it over $1,000, and it definitely does this scaling more. But for comparable equipment in the lower category, you get a much better performance, cohesive performance. For somebody who's reaching for a $300 headphone on the Luan, you're gonna have a much better time of it. Though easy to drive, the Moondrop Venus feels as though, honestly, it requires a little more finesse to get everything out of it. Dynamics is pretty poor on it. Separation and imaging is a bit poor on it, I'll be honest with you. But the coherency and the tonal balance of the frequency response is a bit more cohesive on the Venus. So, caveats. Heavy. Not long wearing. I think you can wear this, some people can wear it for all day, but those people like Audeze LCD4 to LCDX, etc. Those people are, I think, an outlier. For most people, an hour tops, an hour and a half. Luan, definitely more comfortable. All day wearing. Luan takes a point. Build quality. I think this one, there's a draw. They're both exceptional in their own ways for their price categories. Elegance, that's subjective again, I'll give it to the Luan personally. But the Venus is more rugged and it definitely feels very premium. This is a very, very premium feeling headphone. Sound quality. I think for some people who want a slight treble emphasis, more texturally rich, more timbre, and slight recess in the upper mid-range, this Luan is for that audience. The Moondrop Venus is more lean, linear, laid back, with a beautiful tonality, more relaxed sound, I think more for the office and kind of like just listening to any genre without really caring about the visceral impact or the edge of attack too much or slight emphasis on treble. The Venus is for you. In conclusion, do I believe the Luan outperforms this price category? I think it's very good and is up there. Definitely in regards to comfort and build quality and sound quality for those people who like slight treble leaning, definitely, it's fantastic. In the $600 category, is this twice as good as this? Is it worth ponying up $300 extra over the Luan? I think if you want a relaxed headphone and a solid construction like this in metal and want to upgrade your source equipment later on, the Moondrop Venus will probably do you a better job in growing with you. But if you're planning to wear it all day, Luan. Let's do the Tiger scores. Build quality. I think this is comparable in different ways. Metal versus wood, leather and steel. I'll give 4 Tigers to both, genuinely. Comfort, 5 Tigers for Luan, 3 Tigers for Venus. Sound quality, 3 Tigers and a baby cup for Luan, 3 Tigers and a baby cup for Moondrop Venus, depending on what you like. This requires a little bit more expensive equipment to run. Overall, both of these headphones are exceptionally good for their price categories. I am genuinely impressed. For the first headphone of Moondrop, this is absolutely fantastic. I think they've knocked it out of the park. At Munich High End, when I met them, it stood out to me. I said, ooh, that is worth actually investigating, and that's why I reached out for it, and I'm glad it came in. Comfort, as you can see, I've added the mod mic magnet over here because this has become my daily driver for streaming and Twitch when we jump on the stream with the Zeus Pantera. Check out all the information down below. It's more comfortable for that environment. It's an all-day wearing, all-day listening, and it's replaced the SIVGA SV023 due to the size of these huge cups. They're great. These pads are amazing. Outstanding pair of headphones. Thank you again to Linsol, and a special thank you again to CMA for their latest release as well. If you like reviews such as these, consider joining Patreon, where you get early reviews before anyone else. You will know what equipment is coming into the channel before anyone else, and we get to discuss it during the subsequent months leading to the review. And press the notification icon, it really does help the channel. Let's get out of the algorithm's feet and get some traction on the channel. I really do appreciate it. I will see you on the next one. Peace.